Hey everyone, how's it going? Geek here, and today I have another awesome weekly update video for you guys. With the release of the second beta, I'm sure you're wondering what's next for the game. Well, in today's video, we'll be breaking down my plans for updating the game and showing off some of the work I've been doing on those updates so far. Before we get started, be sure to leave me a like and subscribe if you haven't already. As usual, you can check out the time codes in the video description if you want to jump around. Alright, let's get into it. Starting off, let's talk about the plans for the Flash game's development moving forward from Beta 2. With the release of each beta version, my goal was to get a rough design for every major feature for the game prepped so I can eventually polish everything and add it to the final version of the game. Sure, the two betas were buggy, but the point was just to get something functional on screen that I could update later on to make a more polished game in the future. Now, following the release of Beta 2, we're at a point where I'm ready to start doing some major polishing on my game. All the necessary features are in the game, admittedly in need of some improvement, but they're still in there. So now it's all about ironing out some bugs and making the game look nice and presentable. So, with all this mention of polishing the game, what's specifically going to be changed? Well, there's a couple of things that are going to be different moving forward. For starters, I'm going to start replacing the placeholder models and assets I've been working on up to this point. This is something I've mentioned pretty frequently in my previous videos, but just to reiterate, 90% of the important assets used so far in the betas were just temporary, until I get around to making my own. The character models are all being replaced with my own custom-made models I prepared in Blender, something you've all already seen in my recent community posts. These new models all have morphs to give me control over the characters' facial expressions and to let me move their mouths for dialogue. They have cleaner textures and are more accurate portrayals to the real-life counterparts. With these new models, obviously comes new animations as well to give the characters more fluid movement during gameplay. Aside from characters though, many of the game's other assets like buildings, roads, and random props throughout the map will be replaced with higher quality assets to make the game look higher quality than the previous versions. Most of these assets I'll be modeling myself, like key locations throughout the different cities, while others will just be high quality assets I just happen to own. The point is though, Central City is getting a major facelift in future installments of this game. Other than replacing everything with higher quality assets, I'm also obviously going to do a lot of polishing on the gameplay to make it more enjoyable and less buggy. This includes a tutorial system for players to learn the game's controls, an updated combat system with better animations and auto-targeting based on distance from the player, an updated wall running mechanic to make the camera smoother when transitioning to a wall, and better AI for non-player characters. All of these updates I mentioned will get more in-depth looks as I get to them, so expect videos with more detailed descriptions of these changes being made in the coming weeks. The changes we'll be focused on right now are changes being made to characters and the game's environment. That's right, there's no rest for the weary. Not even a day after releasing Beta 2, I was hard at work on character models and modeling key locations for Central City. I wasn't just updating character models though, I was also creating new ones. For those who are paying attention over on Discord or in my community tab, you'll have seen the previews for the updated Flash and Reverse Flash character models I posted for everyone to see. Good stuff, and they look pretty damn cool, but they weren't the only characters I was working on. I also created models for Nora and Bart Allen with plans to have them playable by Beta 3. All updated models will be able to remove their masks or switch to civilian clothes altogether in-game. Like I said, I'm also working on modeling important locations too, also something people got a glimpse of over on Discord and my community tab with the teaser image of Jitters' sign. I'm also working on Star Labs and the Central City Police Department. While I'm modeling these buildings myself, I have a very specific goal for them in-game. I want the player to be able to seamlessly enter and exit the various key buildings around Central City without having to load into different levels for every location. The player shouldn't have to wait through a loading screen just to enter Star Labs or to go get a coffee at Jitters, and yes, it will be a vendor to buy items, including coffee. The player should be able to walk into the building and walk out without any noticeable delay. So the interiors of each building are being modeled separately from the buildings themselves, so I can import them as separate meshes to load and unload depending on the distance from the player. This way the gameplay isn't interrupted whenever the player wants to go check out Barry and Iris's apartment, they can just walk into a building and hop in an elevator. Sure, it's ambitious, but I'm confident I can get something like that working, at least to some extent, if not fully. Moving past the Flash game though, let's talk about Patreon members for a second. In case you missed it over on Twitter, Patreon members are getting an exclusive playable demo this month based on Sonic the Hedgehog. I just want to preface this by saying, I love the Sonic the Hedgehog series. Sure, the newer games are a load of ass, but I'm not talking about those. When I talk about Sonic the Hedgehog, there's only one version of the character worth mentioning, the good old 16-bit Sega Genesis version. Sonic the Hedgehog was one of my all-time favorite video game characters as a kid. Growing up, if you played Sonic the Hedgehog, you were the man. It made you cool. Well, not really, but it was still a great series back in the day. So I decided to bring it back and revive it into the modern age of gaming. Introducing Sonic: A New Beginning, a fresh start for the character and a return to the series' roots. The game features a large open landscape for the player to explore. There's a main path you can follow, or you can venture off and explore the forested area around you. Exploring off the path can be dangerous, but also rewarding. The game has full controller support, even in the menus, and has many different options for optimizing the graphics. It even has a volume slider too, and it works! It's like witchcraft or something. So what's the goal of the game? Right now, the game is all about getting a high score. When you finish a level, the game will tell you how many enemies you killed, items you collected, and give you a final score based off your gameplay. In a completed version of the game, it would follow the narrative of the first game, modified to fit an open world gameplay style. So why an open world Sonic game for Patreon this month? Well, there's actually a very specific reason behind that. When Sega announced Sonic was getting an official open world adventure game, it blew my mind. I was so excited thinking Sonic was about to get some Breath of the Wild treatment with new and innovative gameplay and a massive open world themed around the game's lore while still feeling true to the character's origins. But what we got was total ass cheeks. The trailer for Sonic Frontiers was such a letdown. The gameplay looks jarring, the environment doesn't feel like it fits in a Sonic game, and the puzzle solving is just... why? Sonic games aren't about solving puzzles and beating up discount Breath of the Wild enemies. They're about running blindly into enemies and beating up fat Teddy Roosevelt knockoffs. So I decided to make my own game that felt like it was more in line with the gameplay of the original games. And now I want to share the game with you guys through Patreon. The game will likely be released within the next 2 weeks in a post over on Patreon. I'll be making an announcement when it goes up. Well, that's all I have for today's video. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you didn't during the intro. Also be sure to join us over on Discord and subscribe to the Patreon if you're interested in playing the Sonic game. I hope you guys are excited for the updates being made to the Flash game, and if you are, drop a comment to tell me about it. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you all in the next one. Also stay tuned for the next update video too, because I have something really cool in the works that I want to tell you about that will change the game for my fan games. Next video, we're talking about my own custom video game launcher.